Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about the 100, oh my god, episode 702, titled The Garden, which premiered Wednesday, May 27th, 2020 on the CW. I'm recording this 25 minutes after the episode has aired, so huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what they say about the other episodes. My other video reminders up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Guys, this episode is very important to what I think is like the start of the mythology that is the anomaly. Like, really go see it. It also happens to be the third one they actually filmed, even though it's the second one that aired. So, there's that. But yeah, otherwise, before I really get into it, quick YouTube shoutouts to MCO and Mr. Legendary AO. Thank you for keeping the conversation going in my previous video. I truly appreciate it. Also, I want to bring up the fact that Mr. Legendary AO reminded me of a very, very valid point, which I had to go back and check. And because of what happened in this episode, I figure it's kind of what happened at the very end of the previous episode. It's really important. And that is the fact that Clarke still has an empty mind drive inside her because Russell had put an empty one in her when he still believed that it was Josephine in control and thinking that she needed a new one. So Clarke still has an empty mind drive, and then Emori and Murphy had the mind drives that used to be Daniel and Kaylee's. So we got 3 members of our original delinquent, or not, I shouldn't say delinquents because Emori's not part of it, of our original Space Crew people, though Clarke doesn't count. I'm counting Clarke and Space Crew, okay, because they're like the core group of people, but anyways. So that's a huge reminder there, so thank you, Mr. Legendary AO, because also the mind drive plays a huge part in this episode, and it also was part of like Shaheda's like plot twist in the last moments of the previous episode, so we'll leave it at that. So let's get right into what happened in this episode. I'll try to do my best in giving out the very important details, but I highly stress to go watch the episode. I'm still reeling from it, like trying to process what exactly mythology-wise that we're learning from about the anomaly in itself. But yeah, I hope this helps, or I hope at least I make some sense of it for you guys. But I'm definitely not going to put a timer on it because of the subject matter, and because I just am not in the mood to time myself today. But hopefully I don't go over 20 or 30 minutes. That's the goal, because we know my tendencies there. But let's start off with what happened. So timeline-wise, technically this episode, it's kind of split in 2. So in regards to Echo, Gabriel, and Hope, this episode continues where they left off in 701 when they went into the anomaly together. But it also has flashbacks, which span over 10 years that Hope and Dioza spent, or not Hope and Dioza, technically Hope, Dioza, and Octavia spent on in the anomaly in this episode. We also find out what actually the anomaly was. It's not an anomaly, which I'll get to in a moment, so bear with me. Episode reminder is the fact that pretty much this episode answers the question of what were Octavia's missing memories. We definitely only got 10 years worth. We don't know what happened to the other part, if like after those 10 years that's when she got spit back out in Sanctum, or if she went elsewhere, which I will get to in a moment, but that's something there. The episode objective, I guess you could say, is finding a way to activate the bridge or the anomaly to open up the portal to get them back home. Otherwise, the bridge, I might reference it to being that that floating sphere thing that had all the anomaly ruins on top of it, or hieroglyphs on top, or markings on top of it. Again, we'll get a specific name for that later on. So just really watch the episode before you come see my interpretation of it. But otherwise, if you hear straight from it, then I hope I do it justice. But anyways, let's get right into the episode breakdown. So like I said, it's going to be split off into 2 different moments, all taking place in the anomaly itself, which I'll explain why. So the first storyline is our present day storyline, which is Planet Beta, aka Skyring, aka this new place after jumping through the anomaly portal. So that's where the present day characters are. But then you have the second storyline, which deals with the flashbacks. Same location, but it's just the flashbacks that happened within 608, which I will talk about more when I talk about that. So with the first storyline, we're dealing with the present day. That is Echo, Gabriel, and Hope. Grown-up Hope, I should say. So this one, after they find themselves in the ocean, because the anomaly green misty thing is on the bottom of the ocean ground, make it really hard to try to walk right through it like they did back in Sanctum. But Hope regains her memories and tells Gabriel and Echo about Bardo. We find out that the anomaly tattoo on Octavia that they used in 613 to open the portal, that was actually a biological signature specific to Hope. So when they entered it into that floating metal sphere, it was pretty much calling out and bringing hope to them. So that's what it meant. And then, so that's what it meant. Yet the same signature that was written on that letter Hope had in her arm saying, "Trust Bellamy." Gabriel said it was the marking that matched Octavia's tattoo, but Hope says that no, it's a different biometric signature. The one on the letter was specifically supposed to take her to Bardo, our planet Bardo, I think, is what she's referencing to. And then she also said the fact that she didn't kill Octavia at the end of 613 when she came through the portal. She tagged her with a location tag, and she had to embed it deep into Octavia so that when she passed through the bridge, she wasn't going to be turned inside out, if just for it being a shallow tag. But since it was a deep insert of the location tag, it should have kept Octavia right side up, if you know what I mean. But the tag was meant to get her to Bardo, and Hope needed to do this in exchange for D-Oza, who Bardo is having her as a prisoner, I think? I don't know, we'll get to that in a moment. But also from that, we find out about Bardo is the fact that they have their own ruling system with disciples. Kind of similar to the Primes and their disciples, but instead of the Primes being peaceful, it seems like the disciples of Bardo were raised to be warriors, and those who didn't pull their own weight on Bardo, they were sentenced to Planet Beta, or Sky Ring, as a prison sentence, and they had this animated timer tattoo on them that counted down to when they could return to Bardo, or when they would be coming for them at Bardo. And because of the time dilation, Gabriel said that someone could serve a 20-year sentence on Planet Beta, and yet it could be a weekend on Bardo. So, which is trippy in itself. But also, we found our characters, or Gabriel, realizing that Allegius 3 had arrived on Planet Beta. Only one of them survived, and that was a man named Collins. And through his mind drive, Gabriel was able to find that out, but also find out that Collins found a way to activate the bridge metal sphere thing that opens it up, the bridge between the worlds. And just before he was able to write it down, because he didn't have a pen, the device that was reading the mind drive was destroyed, which I'll get to in a moment. But there is a way to activate it. He found a way to use this specific sequence. We don't know if it actually is the correct sequence to Sanctum, or if it was the sequence that would take him to Bardo. So there's that. So let's move on to the flashbacks, which take place within 608. Now, I mean this because Octavia and D-Oza first went into the anomaly in episode 608, but Octavia is the only one that returned moments later. We also find out that D-Oza went in first, and then Octavia followed in closely after hers. It was like only a few seconds, but when they both popped out of Planet Beta, D-Oza was there alone for 3 months before Octavia came, and at that time, D-Oza was getting ready to give birth to Hope. So those few seconds was months' time of a difference. So that is something there. But we do find out in this episode and through the flashbacks that Octavia tried to return to Sanctum for 6 years of her time on Planet Beta. She tried every day to try to swim deeper and deeper to the bottom of that, I'm assuming it's an ocean, or to the bottom of that body of water, because that's where the anomaly mist was. She figured if she could go through that anomaly again, she could get back to Sanctum. However, it's like, it's not 20 feet. Is it 20 feet? It's a long way down, to the point where like diving experts would have trouble, and SEAL training could not help, according to D-Oza. Plus, they didn't have the right equipment to do so. But Octavia tried every day for 6 years to try to find her way to Sanctum before she just stopped trying. And then we find out that Octavia had spent 10 years on the Sky Ring before the Bardo soldiers we saw took her and D-Oza, kind of like an arrest, all because she threw a letter out into the water in hopes that it would get through to Sanctum and find its way to Bellamy. But instead, it found its way to Bardo. So Octavia never mentioned Hope in the letter, so Bardo doesn't know about Hope at that time. And so they only take Octavia and Dioza, leaving a 10-year-old Hope behind on planet Beta all by herself. And then adult Hope says that she was on that planet for 20 years, even though Jason Rothenberg said she was 22 years old. So we don't know where those last 2 years of her life went. Maybe she was in Bardo at that time. I don't know. But she also says she learned to fight from a Bardo prisoner named Dev or Dez shortly after Octavia and Dioza were taken. So that is some little history there. We also find out that those Bardo helmets is what keeps them from losing their memories when they go through the portal between the worlds, or when they cross over the bridge between worlds, because both Octavia and Hope, who lost their memories when they returned to Sanctum, they didn't wear the helmets, so they had to deal with those memory losses. But it seems like once Hope returned to planet Bardo, her memories were restored. No idea how else that works. But that was pretty much the gist of what I got with the flashbacks when it comes to like mythological aspects of it or facts and stuff. But we'll mention that a little later. The last moments of the episode, though, is the flashback of a 10-year-old Hope being left alone on Skyring, aka Planet Beta, after the Bardo soldiers came and arrested or took Octavia and her mom into custody. It seems like they wanted to take her to a dude named Anders, but there's that. But let's move on to characters very quickly. You really only get three characters really that we got an ample amount of information about. So with Hope, we find out that she wanted to learn how to fight from Octavia so that she could one day help her get Bellamy back. I think this is when she was 6 years old. And then we have an adult Hope not understanding why such strong women are torn, like completely torn when it comes to Bellamy. And I kept thinking, if once you meet Bellamy, maybe you'd think differently, because he is a man who would do absolutely anything and everything for the people he cares for and he loves. And that happens to be Octavia and Echo. So officially, I can argue that can mean Clarke and the rest of his people as well. But so there's that. So I'm waiting for Hope to actually meet Bellamy and get a sense of who he is, just so she could take that comment back about how Octavia was so dead set on returning to Bellamy that it got her like, I don't know, got her like unhinged or something. I don't know, but or why she was just so determined to return to him. But anyways, there's that. And also we see adult Hope having some kind of hatred towards Echo. Rightfully so, because it seems like she's angry at Echo on Octavia's behalf and all the stuff that Echo did against Octavia. So it's a messed up history between them. And I love that Hope brought that back up because it was stewing between them between seasons 3 to 5. So I thought that was funny. But it seems like at the moment... sorry, hang on. Yeah, there. So it seems like Echo's going to have to do a lot to get Hope to not snipe at her again. So there's that. Now, when it comes to Octavia, though, we finally after her time on Planet Beta or Skyring, she finally understands what Bellamy meant about her having a darkness inside of her. I mean, it took her 6 years for her to admit why she wanted to return to Sanctum so badly. And it wasn't just to reunite with Bellamy, but she wanted to tell him that she understood what he was trying to tell her before she went into the anomaly. And so she was writing this in this letter to kind of let him know like what she learned and how she was happy, and she hoped that he had happiness as well, type of thing. So there was that. Also, another thing too, when Octavia in season 5, before they went into cryo sleep, Octavia was 23 and Bellamy was 29. So theoretically, since Octavia spent at least 10 additional years on Planet Beta, she's technically 33 years at least. Therefore, she's older than Bellamy, who's technically still 29. Right? So it's like, that's like crazy. And also funny and trippy all at the same time. So it's like, so now Octavia has now become the older sister, essentially. So there's that. Also, moving on to Dioza, or Charmaine Dioza, aka the new mom. We see that she wants to live peacefully on the Sky Ring, or Planet Beta, because she wants to have this new life for Hope, a peaceful life for Hope. Understandably so. You can kind of say it kind of mimics what Clarke had to go with what Clarke had to go through when it came to Maddie and her time being isolated on Earth in those 6 years between season 4 and season 5. You can kind of say it mimics that. Dioza definitely had it a little better because she had Octavia to help her out too, but that was a parallel there, I just realized. But now apparently Dioza is maybe a prisoner on Bardo. I'm assuming that's what Adult Hope is trying to get her mom back. I don't think she's dead. I think she's still under the assumption that she's still alive and able to be rescued. So hopefully we'll see a current Dioza by the end of all this. So there's that. And then another character, we don't actually see him, but he is mentioned twice, both in the present and both in the flashback, and that is this guy named Anders. He seems to be the leader of the Bardo disciples. He's the one that wanted Octavia and Dioza after Bardo had found her letter to Bellamy. And then it also seems like they might be the reason why they knew to find and capture Gabriel and Echo, and yet he could be the reason why there was a kill order on Hope, Adult Hope. But it seems like Hope had a deal with Anders to find Octavia and tag her with a location tag in exchange for her mom's life, from the looks of it. But we haven't met the man yet, but it seems like he might be the Russell of this Bardo place. Also, Gabriel did mention that Anders could either be a descendant of the original Allegius crew sent to Bardo, or he could be another memory drive recipient, since all the Allegius passengers had those as part of their mission parameters. So there's that. But moving on to tidbits, though, in the present day, there was a current Bardo prisoner who had 5 years left of his sentencing. Hope was ready to wait out 5 years for Bardo to come pick the prisoner up so that she could tag along and hitch a ride to Bardo. Echo does not want to wait that long, and so Gabriel is trying to find a way to activate the bridge between the worlds with what he assumed was the anomaly. So there's that. But this prisoner is dealing with isolation, insanity. He keeps mentioning Hope. Don't know if he's talking about like Hope, like actual Hope, or if it's supposed to be someone else. Or maybe it is insanity that's talking, or maybe all the prisoners who's been there on planet Bardo or planet Beta, they go back to Bardo knowing that Hope is there, and any prisoner that goes there, they maybe tell them that Hope is there, you gotta watch. Maybe they're like something that like help her out type of thing. I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see about that. But also, this episode does not feature Sanctum whatsoever. We are strictly staying on planet Beta, aka Skyring. So that's something there. Also, with that said, because we are not on Sanctum at all and we're strictly dealing with two sets of characters, ship status is going to be very short. Once again, I'm always going to include Bellamy and Clarke, even though neither of them were present in this episode, so they're still on the list as an always must mention. But I will mention them a little bit later on. But we do get Bellamy and Octavia. Again, both of them are not present together, but it was just more of like Octavia passing along the little tricks that Bellamy used to do while she was growing up, and she was passing it along to Hope, which I'll mention in a moment. We do get the Octavia and Dioza growing closer to the point that they consider each other as family. They love each other as family. They need each other as family. So that is something there. We do see a lot more of the dynamic between Hope and Octavia as well. A deep bond for her Auntie O. We don't get much between Hope and her mom specifically. I'm guessing this episode the flashbacks were skewed in Octavia's favor. But obviously you would assume mother and daughter would be close as well. We just don't get scenes with them alone together. Octavia is always present whenever we see the two of them. So that's something there. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. I think for me, it would have to be just how very different this whole time dilation thing is working between Sanctum, Skyring, and Bardo. It's still going to confuse me, but I really love that this episode tries to make sense of it and tries to make it logical, which I totally appreciate 100%. But it's still shocking to me how very different they could manipulate time. And it said in one of the Allegius memories on the memory drive, or the mind drive, was that it was somehow due to a black hole between the passages between the planets, and when the bridge crosses between them, it goes through a black hole that results in the time dilation. I have no idea. I stopped taking science a long time ago, even though we never even had the chance to cover the aspects of time travel. That's all sci-fi fantasy fiction there for me. But yeah, I'd say that was probably the most shocking, in the fact that like how much the time dilation works, how it could work. And then I guess you can also say it was the flashbacks as well, just seeing how much time they covered together and then where it left off for them. Because now I'm left with the question of, hold on, let me write this question down to bring it up later on in random questions. All right, I wrote it down. That's for later. All right, let's move on to parallels or any callbacks, because again, this is the final season. I expect callbacks to the events of the past for the final season. And I wasn't disappointed. First off, we get Becca returning, since she was actually part of the Allegiance missions through the mind drive. She was the first person that that Collins woke up to after the mind drive was implanted in his head. She explained how the mind drives were meant to kind of record their experiences and send it back to headquarters so that they could have the information as they're on these explorations. Gabriel also revealed that he had such a crush on Becca. I would have loved to see the two of them together, but it was so interesting seeing her again. And also loved her hair, for sure. Loved how she looked. But I will say it was a little tricky to understand what she was saying, just because the way, I understand why there was a bit of voice distortion, because it's meant to show that the mind drive got a little bit corrupted, and they were lucky if they were able to access the memories in the mind drive after so many years. But at the same time, my ears were like, my ears itself, I'm bad at hearing already to begin with when it comes to video files, to the point like I'm pausing, starting, stopping, rewind, go back, rewind, like all the time when it tries to like, when it comes to me trying to make notes off of an audio file. So that was my only issue there, was the fact that it was such a crucial piece of information to know about the mind drives, and yet the voice distortion was kind of distracting for me, because I was trying to like, and I'm also watching it when I can't pause the episode. I mean, I'm not watching this on Netflix. It's during like the actual live screening of it. So that was my issue there. But it was great seeing Becca again. It was really great to see that callback to the fact that she was part of the missions at the very start of it. Because I think Josephine made a mention of it in the previous season, where she was talking about life before the missions, when it was them just back on regular modern day Earth, I think. I'm not sure. But we all know that Becca was part of the pre-Prime Fire days, first time around. So there's that. Another parallel, a huge thing, was the fact that Octavia was taking after Bellamy when it came to raising hope. There's a lot of things that we know Bellamy did to Octavia when she was growing up that we see coming back in Octavia when she's helping to raise hope. Specifically, when adult Hope says, "My mother, my responsibilities," we all know the famous saying from Bellamy of "my sister, my responsibilities." So that is something that Octavia had instilled in Hope at such a young age. There's also the fact that there was the callback to Kid Bellamy using his pinky to soothe baby Octavia. We see that in the first moments with Octavia and baby Hope, that she tries to do the whole pinky thing and even say like, how did Bellamy do this? Why is it working? And like being very ecstatic once she was able to have baby Hope get attached to her pinky, and she was like tearing up and saying thanks to Bellamy in her own way. So that was a callback there. And then also a callback that I mentioned in the previous video was the idea of Hope having to be hidden from intruders, and Octavia telling her to stay hidden, stay safe, be strong, and we will come back for you. Huge callback to whenever Bellamy had to hide Octavia under the floor whenever there was Ark patrols, long before they discovered that she existed back on the Ark. So that was a callback there. Also, this particular memory was playing during Hope's hallucination moment in 701, but now we got the actual source of that memory. That was actually the last time, it seems, to my understanding, when Hope had her eyes on Octavia was when she was 10 years old, and Octavia was telling her to stay hidden, stay safe, and be strong, and we will come back for you once we can. And that was the last memory. And then assuming when Hope finds Octavia and stabs her with that location tag, I'm assuming that's the next time Hope actually lays her eyes on Octavia. So after a 12-year gap for her. So that's quite something there, though. But that was the parallel of the whole antics of one trying to hide the other. It definitely gave me a sense, like, with the fact that Bellamy was doing all this stuff first with Octavia, and then Octavia is kind of piggybacking off that and taking what her brother did to her and putting it to good use herself with Hope. It kind of felt more like, again, like I said, a parent doing something for their child, and once that child becomes a parent, they keep those traditions up, essentially. And I thought that was a great thing to carry on. Plus, also, I think that was the moment that it showed true understanding for Octavia, and I'll get to that in a moment because I want to talk about my favorite moments of this episode. I absolutely love this episode. It was definitely, yes, we didn't see anything of Sanctum, but I thought this was a huge emotional developmental episode, or character development as well, too. So we'll just stick, it's pretty much everything in the flashbacks is what I loved about it. Because first off, we get the changing dynamic between Aza and Octavia, how they grew in those 10 years together, how they grew to view each other as family, to love each other as family, and to help each other out when it came to raising Hope. And I really appreciate that they were trying to look out for each other. And Aza did take on the role of like being like either the big sister or the cool older aunt to Octavia, and trying to do what was best for her and try to, like, she wanted her to be there, be safe and peaceful with them, as opposed to going back to Sanctum and wanting to bring back an army and start that war again. So it was really interesting to see the growth between the two of them. I absolutely loved it. I was so for it in season 6 when they were both exiled and trying to find the old man, which was Gabriel. But it was great seeing that it actually worked towards something where they got close. So I really appreciate that. The only sad thing was that it was such a shame that Octavia didn't remember any of that growth when she came back to Sanctum and lost her memories from it. That was such a... Now that I've seen how much growth that Octavia and Aza had and how much of a change there was in Octavia, it was such a shame that she couldn't retain those memories when she returned to Sanctum and returned to Bellamy and the others. Because that was like a 10-year growth right there. She grew in a decade quite a bit, you'd hope. And it was a shame that she couldn't retain that. But I really loved the growth that we got to see between the two of them. Another favorite was Octavia's letter to Bellamy. I really wish that he got his hands on it instead of Bardo. But I really love what she was trying to say in the letter, how she ultimately wanted to tell him that she understood where he was coming from, that she understood about the darkness he was referencing to inside of her, and that she needed to find a way to get past that. It also seemed like she understood all the actions that Bellamy has done for her as an older brother. It seems like she has come to an understanding as to why he did all those things, because now she had to be the parental figure for Hope, and she used a lot of his tactics, and it seemed like she learned from it. Like I said, you don't really truly understand and appreciate your parents until you become a parent yourself. You know that old adage. Can't truly say from my own experience about that, but like it seemed to really truly come into play when it came to Octavia in this sense, even though she doesn't have children of her own. Because of Hope, she was able to understand where Bellamy was coming from in regards to her. So I truly appreciate that. Downside, I wish she read the note, but it was interesting that adult Hope had read the note though, and it seems that Echo maybe, I don't know how far she read into the letter, but it seems like she read enough to know that it was for Bellamy to Octavia. So that's something there. And then another thing I really liked was just seeing the dynamic between Octavia and Hope. We saw them when she was 6. We saw them when she was 6. We saw them when she was 10. It's very interesting to see the protectiveness and the attachment they have for each other. It was very interesting to see that how attached Hope was, to the point like she'd want to do everything with Octavia. She wanted to like pretty much be attached at her hip with her. She wanted to stay and do the planting of the seeds with her. She wanted to help her do chores together. It was very sweet. And then also when they were doing that pseudo goodbye, when Octavia was wearing the Bardo suit, thinking that she was going to be able to swim down to the bottom, before she found out that Dioza broke the helmet, therefore preventing her from doing such thing, they had this little goodbye where Kid Hope was telling Octavia that she didn't want her to go. She didn't want to grow up without Octavia. And then Octavia was saying, like, I miss you already, even though I'm here. And then she's trying to tell her that she needed to return to Sanctum, and she could bring all her friends to Hope so they can meet. What I really love, though, was the fact that Octavia specifically says that she would come back for Bellamy, Clarke, and Maddie. She specifically names those 3 characters, which says something in itself, I have to say. But then also, Hope's immediate reaction was, and Murphy too. Like, she really wanted to bring Murphy along. And I found that hilarious. Because, like, rightfully so. So now I am waiting for a meeting between Hope and Murphy. Just because Kid Hope wanted to have Murphy come along too. But that was my little bit about Bellamy, Clarke, and Maddie. I don't know if it's specifically because, like, Bellamy, obviously, because it's her brother. Maddie, because maybe she saw her as, like, her protege as the next leader of Wand Crew, maybe. Or just because maybe she was the only other kid she knew, and that could better connect with the Kid Hope as well. But then for Clarke, to say Clarke, I don't know if that's because it's attached to Maddie, or if it's because maybe Octavia has no ill will towards Clarke, even though everybody else on Space Crew did at the time of mid-season 6, or if it's because of what she knows between Bellamy and Clarke and their dynamic there. I don't know. But I really love the fact that 6 years into her time in Planet Beta, she still wanted to bring Bellamy, Clarke, and Maddie back to her makeshift paradise with her newfound family. Just love that there. And I had to mention that, obviously. So let's move on to top 3 peeved moments. I had no issue with this episode. Like I said, the only issue I had is the confusion that comes with not truly understanding this time dilation thing. But the episode does a really good job of trying to explain it. And maybe it's just my own confusion when it comes to time travel in general. You know my issues about that if you watched my Arrowverse shows. But otherwise, I really had no issue about this. Like, yeah, I wanted to know what was going on in Sanctum, but I feel like if we were cutting between Sanctum and Planet Planet Beta, it wouldn't have worked as well. So I'm really glad that we just strictly kept to this planet, even if it's flashbacks versus present day. So that's something there. So let's move on to questions very quickly. I definitely passed 30-minute mark. I'm sorry, but I already knew that was going to be the case. But my major question, and this is more of an observation which stemmed the question, but do you think that Gabriel will either swap out his mind drive for Colin's mind drive so they can access that bridge sequence, or do you think he'll try to put the mind drive into that Bardo prisoner so that he can bring Collins out of the prisoner so that he can get the bridge activation code from Collins himself? Because why I'm thinking this is because why else would the camera focus on the broken memory viewer? Why would it focus on the broken memory viewer, then show that the mind drive was still intact in the reader, but then also pull back so that we saw the mind drive scar that Gabriel has on his own neck? Why would they focus on that progression of no tablet, intact mind drive, possible recipient of the mind drive? Like, why would they show that focus on the scar if it wasn't going to play a factor? And showing that scar just made it more of a reminder of the fact that he has a mind drive inside of him. So, if they really wanted to, then, or if they're really desperate enough, what is to stop them from taking Colin's mind drive and taking it and putting it into Gabriel, and then kind of like him accessing the memories that way. Can he have 2 mind drives in at the same time? Because then otherwise, I don't think they would risk Gabriel, because he's the only one who knows how to extract the mind drives and how it works and all the tech knowledge that he's been giving us in this episode. So I'm thinking maybe they might do the same for, I think they might try it on the Bardo prisoner, because I think Echo is still a regular red blood and she's not a night blood. I don't think Echo's blood ever got changed. So, and I don't think Hope's blood ever was changed. So, and I think if they were really desperate, they might try to insert Colin's mind drive into the prisoner. Who else is with me in that thinking? Who else thinks I'm like overstepping? But I just thought it was, because I am in film school and we're told like only show what is relevant, and when it comes to like camera focuses and stuff, I kept thinking, why would they focus on his scar the way that they did if it's not going to come back to play a part? You know what I mean? So that's something there. And then the other question I did that popped in my head when we were talking about parallels was that after Octavia was taken into Bardo custody in 10 years into her time in Skyring, do you think that is when they either A, sent her back to Sanctum, and that's when we saw her get returned to us with a full hand in 608 with no memory? Or do you think she was taken to Bardo and then she spent some time there and then she got kicked back to Sanctum? Like, I'm still wondering how and when does she return to us, when in that 608 she was only gone for a few moments when she went in with Dioza and came out without her. So I'm wondering, is that 10-year mark where she was then returned to Sanctum, or did she go to Bardo and then spend some time there and then she escaped to go to Sanctum, or she was sent to Sanctum for a different purpose? I don't know, because again, she still looks the same. But like, otherwise they're trying to imply that she just ages very well. I don't know. But, because again, in her mind and memory, she's at least 33 years old. Keep that in mind. So there's that. So let's move on to predictions very quickly. Hopefully I'm done before 40 minutes is up. But based on the promo for 703, we are back in Sanctum, and it looks like Clarke reflects on their past track record when it comes to survival. That was seen in the overarching Season 7 first trailer that they released, that scene that she was talking with Gaia about. So there's that. We also see that Russell's execution is set for sunset. So this is probably Sanctum. It's probably the next day since the events of 701. It definitely seems like the palace still has scorch marks on it. So there's that. And it looks like we're going to get a bunch of riots as well. And the new Russell, Dark Commander in disguise, Shaheda, he's trying to bring out the fact that all they want is peace. They're all striving for peace. Why not they work together type of thing. That's the impression I got. Based off the synopsis, though, for the episode, it reads that as Raven faces an unexpected threat, Clarke must keep the peace among opposing factions in Sanctum. The Clarke part is understandable. As opposed to unexpected threat for Raven, I'm thinking that has to be Shaheda, because I could understand why he would target her, because as the hacker, she's the one that could potentially get his code out of Russell's body and what have you. So I could understand why he would target her in that sense. So that is something there. But otherwise, guys, some very quick news before. In the producer's preview that they had with this episode, when Jason Rathenberg gave like his setup for the episode, he mentions why they went with the storyline of Bellamy being taken as a prisoner. And that was due to the actor, Bob Morley, requesting for some time off. Now, because of that, we don't know just how long Bellamy is going to be off screen for. He could come back in the next episode. He can come back in mid-season, for all we know. He can come back at the end of the season, which I really hope doesn't happen, because I'd be really pissed if this is the final season and I barely got any Bellamy on screen. I do not need a repeat of Season 8 of Charm, where Leo was like missing for a majority of the season, all as a leverage point for the sisters to find the ultimate bad and win in order to get him back. No, I don't need Bellamy being absent for the majority of the season. Like, I understand on the actors side of it why it makes sense that he'd need some time off. I understand that for sure. So if Bellamy is off screen for maybe like 4 episodes, okay. But kudos. I just don't want to see Bellamy missing for the whole season. You know what I mean? Because, like, I'd still want to see Bellamy trying to be part of the peace process in Sanctum, you know? I really hope I didn't just stick my foot in my mouth for that, though. But, like, yeah. Like, I understand on, like, the worker side of it, but then as a viewer of the story, and, like, Bellamy is one of my favorites, and, like, to not see him is, like, because he's the heart of Head in the Heart. So it's like, you know? Okay, I'm going to stop, because also my throat hurts. But that's about it. So, guys, what did you guys think of this episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about what you think will happen next. Whether it's in Sanctum or whether it's on Skyring or AK Planet Beta, let me know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all fun in one place. Go check that out. I am behind. I'm currently midpoint of my current semester for school. So a lot of things are ramping up. I'll even say to the fact that I'm actually supposed to be writing an episode for Supernatural, like a legit episode for Supernatural is one of my projects. And, like, I'm so excited. Like, I've waited 15 years for this moment. And, like, it's a lot. I will say it's a lot. But I'm excited because that means I'm one step closer to figuring out how to write an episode for television. But yeah, so that's taking up my time right now. I'm also supposed to be doing something very similar in 3 of my other classes. So yeah, I'm very lucky that I'm able to even do this recap video for you. But I really wanted to talk about it. I've been waiting for the 100 return, and I just couldn't not talk about it with it being the final season. So I really want to see what you guys have to say about it as well. So just giving a heads up, any updates for me online anywhere are going to be a lot slower than usual because of school. But my links are still there in case you want to check it out. WordPress, same thing applies, but anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more in detail, but still work in progress once again. Link down below. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I really did not mean for my video to be the exact same length as the episode itself. Please don't hold that against me. Maybe I really should keep a timer next time. Let me know what you think down in the comments below if you think I should go with this non-timer thing or stick with the timer thing. But yeah, there's that. So I gotta go. So until next time, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. Please stay physically distant. You can talk to people online all you want during this pandemic, but stay physically distant. Because I'm now entering week 11 of me just staying at home, stuck in my room. And I would like to go outside soon without risking getting infected by someone and accidentally bringing it home to my elderly grandparents. Like, that's the reason why I'm staying home, is so that I don't accidentally become a carrier and give it to them. So if everybody stays home for a little bit longer and we can contain this pandemic, I can finally enjoy the spring weather. Because I'm stuck in a condo. I don't have a balcony. I don't have a backyard. So, yeah. Do this for me, guys. Just stay at home a little bit longer until this pandemic passes. So I can actually enjoy the weather when it's safe to do so. So, yeah. I really will end it there. This is Mel. Wish you all a great day. Bye for now.